Okay, hello everybody. I'm looking at myself here. It's not quite alive. Oops, what have I got? It's not quite live. I'm seeing myself a little bit delayed here when I'm looking at YouTube. I'm just testing out the technology now. It says live here. It doesn't appear to be, but it's a stream coming from Jitsi Meet. Here I can see myself now a few minutes ago, essentially. But I'm here today to test the technology and to talk a little bit about what I expect or what I would like to see from the Marginálie Book Club. I can see as well the video is really not very good quality, but I'm using what I can. I probably shouldn't have the sun shining on me there, but I'm testing all these things out there. In any case, I've put together, you can see a link underneath on the YouTube information, a link to the Marginálie wiki about the book club and what I expect from it. When it actually gets going, hopefully in the summer sometime, later on in the summer, possibly early autumn, then I would like to be discussing a few books. And the first one I would like to look at is Edward Said's Orientalism. And this is something that I first heard about many years ago when I was studying politics at the University of Nottingham. And I didn't read it at the time, but it's been a monumental text for many, many years. And unfortunately, it's one of these instances where it remains topical to this day. There's a lot of talk about Iran. It appears that there's a lot of people surrounding Donald Trump in the USA who are really trying to do to Iran what was done to Iraq and Afghanistan beforehand, and they're really trying to, it looks like they're trying to finish the job that Tony Blair and George W. Bush started. This edition of Orientalism actually takes on a lot of that first, well, it wasn't the first time around by any stretch, but it's really heartbreaking to read the introduction. And the introduction was written in 2003. And so Edward Said, in the last months of his life, actually, he died just after he wrote this introduction. This is the 25th anniversary edition with a new preface by the author. And the preface, rather than the introduction, sorry, is, yeah, it's a heartbreaking essay. So it's written in New York, I believe, in 2003. If I look back over it again, I haven't read the book yet, and I'm kind of intimidated by it. There's a lot of videos about it. There's a lot of kind of secondary sources that you can look about it because it's been so influential. But yes, this was written in New York in May 2003. And he's talking about the Rumsfelds, Bin Ladens, Sharons, and the Bushes of this world, and so on. And as I say, it's kind of heartbreaking to see that despite what he put into this book, what he described as Orientalism, a way that the West has of interpreting, the Middle East and the countries of the Middle East, and perhaps I'm not even describing it that very well, but the West's historical, cultural, and political perceptions of the East, and we're living in that. We're living in that the more now after 2001, after the September 11th, 2001. And I think that this will be a very interesting book to read on that basis. There's a few others here that maybe the book club could look at either at the same time to read alongside it. There's some books which are a little bit slighter and easier to read. It would be possible that we could discuss more than one book at a given session. I've got another book here that's actually by, I apologize again for the video quality and the contrast and so on that's going on here. This, apparently published with the support of the British Institute for the Study of Iraq, is from Comma Press, and it's really worthwhile looking at Comma Press as a publisher of independent fiction from Manchester in Great Britain. Here is Iraq Plus 100, Stories from a Century After the Invasion. I haven't actually checked the from lunch. Yeah, so that's working. Okay, so it might be a little bit touch too loud even. But by the way, Jitsi Meet, I would be using this. The idea is that this is something like Skype. It's for conference calls, and a number of people can meet on this to discuss something. So I would publish a link, for example, to join Jitsi Meet, and people can just kind of come here and discuss the books. They could kind of say in advance by writing to me at crosruck@marginálie.eu. Currently, I might change that sometime in future, or at ppp.marginálie.eu, which is the social media instance running on Pleroma that I don't moderate currently, but I'm the administrator of it. But back to this book by Comma Press. Comma Press famously, when Donald Trump announced about the Muslim ban at the beginning of his presidency, it seems such a very long time ago, but it was, I don't know how to pronounce his name, it's Ra Page, I believe, but he announced that they would be publishing in translation. These are the books that they publish in translation would only be from the countries affected by the Muslim ban. This was published previously. I believe I have the Book of Gaza somewhere. I think I ordered a number of books to try to support them at the time. I also talked about it in the school that I was working at the time. But this is a kind of, essentially a collection of sci-fi writers, you know. So what might the country look like in the year 2103? So it's quite adventurous, and I don't know. I've dipped into it here and there, but it would be interesting to look at that perhaps as well, or to look at perhaps a selection of stories from it, or from the Book of Gaza. Might be interesting if anybody's got feedback on that. But the idea of the book club then is to talk about books which are topical and which are meaningful now, and which perhaps at times kind of contradict the very strong narratives that we're getting as well. There's this very strong single narrative that is powerfully affecting the minds of everybody, and coming through kind of social media from everywhere, from the mainstream media from everywhere, and it's been very clear from September 11th, 2001, that's really affected all of our politics since then. And so I want to be tackling that a little bit. And I'm not setting myself as an expert, absolutely not, on any of these books at all, but I'd like to see what people's experiences are of reading them. And I think that could be a part of what Marginálie does. So if Marginálie touches you and reaches you at any point through Twitter, through kind of the Federation, that is Pleroma or Mastodon, or through the zine itself, which I'm currently putting together, then you could get involved. Just sign up. Just give it a go. Just say, hell, why not? I'll try and read Orientalism. I'll try and read the Book of Gaza. Maybe it's something you've always wanted to do, and maybe this is the time, or maybe you've never heard of it before, whatever. And just engage with it in some way. In some ways, all that matters is a genuine attempt to tackle the book, because actually one of the reasons I'm setting this up is sometimes I'm not very good at consistently reading books from start to finish. I have ADHD, I have huge problems with things like that. And this would help me to structure that as well. So I'll be looking at it. And I've lost my train of thought a little bit. And then we'll just be able to talk in a group of maybe from 5 to 8 or 9 might work quite well. It might be a few people that I know, and then additionally people who hear about it elsewhere through Twitter or whatever it may be. I'll discuss a few other books now and a few things that I've been looking at recently, just to give a flavour of what the book club might be. This will be the first one, and you can see and take a look at the wiki page, which will be updated over the next few weeks. Currently, it's just myself writing the wiki, but I've got to expand that and kind of dig down into the admin of it, and I will be doing that hopefully over the next few months, when I'm going to be putting together the back end of Marginálie to make it really, to get all the work that I've done for it so far and get it out there in one way or another. So on that basis, I could show you, for example, this. It's not all. This is not something I will discuss on kind of on the book group. It's not really what it's for. But I might be discussing it elsewhere. I might even write a review of it if I find the time. This is Flask Web Development by Miguel Grimberg, which is very useful. I'm currently working through it. I'm somewhere there. If you can look, I'm kind of halfway through, and also he's got a great kind of tutorial online as well, which you can look at, and a number of web tutorials and stuff. There is also, this is one I picked up maybe last month, so Naomi Klein, who I've read in the past, and really, if you're going to understand what's going on in the world today and you haven't read Naomi Klein, then please try to do it. This one, No Is Not Enough, is much more accessible than some of the others she's written, which is not in any way a criticism of the others. So No Logo is essential reading. The Shock Doctrine is essential reading. I have another one here. Maybe I've taken it down to Marginálie HQ down in the basement where I don't have the internet yet, if I will have it at all. But I think it's called This Changes Everything, and I haven't read it yet. It's about climate change, but really, if you can read Naomi Klein, I can't emphasize that enough. This one then is a brisker read, and you've got essentially everything about Trump and what Trumpism means, but also it's not a focus on Trump. It's a focus on everything that happened prior to Trump and everything that was already broken that delivered us Trump. It's one of these books that's telling us, look, Trump is not a distraction as such, but certainly he's a symptom rather than the actual cause of anything. To focus purely on Trump and what he's doing all the time is to have, you know, your mind just constantly distracted from the underlying problems. It's not that we shouldn't do it at all, but really her analysis is what you need to get through some of those layers and get down to it. So I would recommend to do that. And this was written very quickly. She turned around this book very quickly. She said that previously she's worked perhaps for 6 years or so, gone to Iraq, gone to New Orleans to see what's happening there. And she's really been at the places where the laser sharp focus of neoliberalism has been working at the time that it's been working, and she's really been there to say how that looks. Another book that I hope to, it's going to be a struggle to do a review of this, but I would like to do a review of this for the first issue of Marginálie. And actually this goes back to, I think, the year 2000 or perhaps 1999. And it's, yes, so first published by Alan Lane, the Penguin Press, 2000, published in Penguin Books 2001. And it's copyright Larry Siedentop, the year 2000. Again, we talked about this at university, but what's interesting is that, yes, then I had access to the names of some of the books that are very influential at that time when I was at university. But also, it's kind of, this guy got a knighthood in 2016, I believe it was, at precisely the time that we were putting through the referendum about Brexit. Now, I think that everything that has been said about Brexit has been a lie, essentially, been told. That's not already a particularly controversial opinion. But I think that in order to understand anything about what we're looking at in the world now, we need to go back to understand some of the trends that were going on kind of even before September 11th. And this is one of those that I think gets to the root of the causes of Brexit, and Brexit is really tied up, we can see now, with everything going on with Cambridge Analytica, Julian Assange, and there's a whole vector work in there with involving cryptocurrencies and everything else that's been going on since. Each of those individual issues is very complicated, but go beyond them a little bit and go prior to them a little bit, and then you can see a lot of what's going on. And this one's called Democracy in Europe by Larry Siedentop. So again, it's a topical book still, and his analysis is interesting. I'm reading it now for the second time. I found this in Hay-on-Wye, the Hay-on-Wye Cinema Bookshop, which I recommend to anybody, and I bought it on the 22nd of October of last year. Finally, having not read it when I was at university and so on, a lot of the lecturers talked about it. But really, to understand Brexit, I think again, this would even be a great one for the Marginálie Book Club itself. And if anybody watches this video and you want to just pick up a copy somewhere, please do take a look at it, and you know, you can then just get in touch and see what you think about it. Even record a video, whatever else. Or if you want this to be another book that is discussed, then just drop me a line somewhere. The other books that I'm focusing on right now, we've got a lot of kind of Bohumil Hrabal. I would call this Samizdat. It's kind of not. It's a copy of Samizdat. And it's the first one that I've held in my hand. It's called Něžný barbar, and it's The Gentle Barbarian. It's about somebody that Bohumil Hrabal lived with in the 1950s. He's called Vladimir Boudník, and he was a graphic designer and an interesting character, very much a bohemian. And it's interesting that actually during the times of high Stalinism in the 1950s here in the Czech Republic, Czechoslovakia at the time, these three guys, they were guys. It was very much like, because he was almost imitating the Beats in America, and they were picking up a lot of the same kind of cultural influences as the Beats. And it was obviously more difficult to do that, or was it? I don't know. Maybe that's a question. In Czechoslovakia at the time, but they managed to live that life here, and he looks back on that and really talks about that at various moments. But it was Vladimir Boudník, Bohumil Hrabal, and a guy called Egon Bondy, sorry, not his real name, but they worked together. Egon Bondy is a poet and writer, and Bohumil Hrabal is a writer himself. And this really got to me at the time when the whole Trump thing was coming on, and it was at the time of Brexit, and everything else was really just starting to hit us, and we were kind of like, I was essentially traumatized by it like everybody else. But the story is, it's more a matter of form. It's very interesting the way it's kind of free flowing. It's like On the Road. I haven't read On the Road for many years, but the way it's written is very interesting. This is something that I've been really looking at the time, because right then Bohumil Hrabal had published a kind of self-criticism in the communist newspaper, essentially at the time, Tvorba, and he was criticized more recently on his centenary on 2014 by some of the people working in the media here and so on. So they criticized him for selling out, essentially, and being controlled by the communists. I think it's not so simple. This was written in 1974, at the height of that period when he was said to have sold himself out, or 74. He was about to do so, I think. In any case, so I've been looking at that a lot recently, and I'm currently writing a piece about that. It's got tied up with a lot of other things, and it's become really quite an extensive kind of long-form essay. And connected to that is this book, which I first came across kind of in 2014 as well, so around his centenary, the centenary of his birth. And it's The Writer Bohumil Hrabal, it's called, by Tomáš Mazel, who knew him at times. And it's a really kind of almost encyclopedic piece about his life. And that deeply affected me back in 2014, and it led me on the path that I've been on since. And so I'm looking at that, but also looking at kind of my life previously. I'm comparing it to the life that he lived then. And the idea really, I guess, that we're living in this utopian society right now, which was the implicit in a magazine article that criticized him for not taking the correct path in signing Charter 77 and doing the right thing. But he was getting kind of Samizdat out there at this time. Ludvík Vaculík was who published 2,000 Words, which was a key kind of text in the distance struggle, actually told him not to sign 2,000 Words. Later on, he went on to not sign Charter 77. It's very easy to criticize him for those decisions now. I'm kind of analyzing that, but also analyzing it from the perspective of, well, listen, you're saying that he didn't deliver us the wonderful utopia that we've got now, because one of the people who's behind Respect, the magazine, and I liked the magazine. You know, I read the New Yorker, which has its own kind of very pro-Clinton stance in some ways, Hillary Clinton, that is. And I think that really, I felt like it was something similar, kind of almost a pro-neoliberalism that Charter 77 came and delivered us Havel, and after Havel, we've really found the right path, and it's implicitly the idea that we've reached the end of history. I'm kind of trying to critique that with my own experiences under neoliberalism and things like that. And it's possibly a strange lens from which to view that, but it's tied up very much with my development as a writer and my experience of Havel and so on. But really, I just wanted to do a quick video today. So it's basically testing out that this works. It's testing out that you can live stream through Jitsi into YouTube. It's going to be a bit of a mess today, I'm afraid. I'm kind of, I had a student earlier on, and kind of sometimes a student of English, and that sometimes I get a kind of very burned out from that, just the need to process conversation on that kind of level a little while, and then I got distracted by a couple of things. We've been catching up with some friends here and so on. So it's a bit of a messy introduction. I apologize for that, and it was just a test that this works. I haven't tested it with other people here just yet, but this is what I would like to discuss, and then that will lead to a conference call sometime, hopefully in the next couple of months, and a discussion of this. If you'd like to get involved, then please drop me a line. I'll put the details on the YouTube video, and if you can get a hold of this, even if you don't want to get involved, or you just want to watch the videos, perhaps, rather than and see the discussion rather than actually getting involved yourself, then pick up a copy of the book. It's really an interesting time to do it, and possibly, you know, check out something from Comma Press, check out something from, you know, any of the books that I've mentioned today, and you'll really understand something the more for that. But I'll put some of the links up. In the future, I will be putting up a link so that you can actually get involved in a conference call. I didn't today because we got kind of like distracted, catching up with a couple of things. It's been a bit of a crazy day. But next time I'll do that maybe an hour beforehand, maybe a few days beforehand, just to see if anybody's interested in doing it, get a list of names, and if you'd be interested in getting involved with the book club, then that would be great. But for now, that's all. I'll catch you next time. Thank you.